day students. Today we'll see the DNA dated 17 December, and let's go in. Before we start on today's articles that came in the paper, I would like to share with you a personal and a favorite quote of mine. If you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes a sacrifice. This is one of my favorite preparation quotes, wherein if you don't pour in all yourself for somebody like a quote, somebody like an aim, person, achievement, ambition, whatever you aspire for, if you're not all in, if you don't sacrifice for what you want always becomes a sacrifice. So if you're not all in, the lack of being 100% in mentally and physically will not let you achieve the aim. So the target or your aspiration itself becomes a sacrifice. Moving on to today's articles. Today's top news articles is Lok Sabha passes bill to raise FDI limit to 100% in insurance sector in India, and conscious decision to separate funding from regulator, says officials on higher education bill. Then there is a new GDP series to eliminate the discrepancies that have been occurring in older GDP components, and a new full BAG series will be released by February 2077. We'll see what's BAG series, what is the new GDP series changes, and one more news article which regarding to the popular Delhi pollution aspect is, from tomorrow non-BS6 cars from outside the NCR region cannot enter Delhi. Then concluding the articles, we will have a topic regarding India-Maldives joint military exercise called EKUVERIN, and it concludes. So we will see the proceedings of it and UPSC related things related to this article. So today we have two bills. This is a bill that is passed. So two bills and pollution related article, and new changes in GDP, and then defense related article. Moving on to the slide. So Lok Sabha passes bill to raise the FDI limit to 100% in insurance sector. So they have come up with a new bill called Sabko Bima Sabko Raksha, amendment of all insurance related laws bill in 2025 now. So we will see regarding provisions of that. This is again combined with another article in paper regarding, because of this bill, IRDA, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, have been given extra powers to search, seizure and to reinforce more provisions regarding the insurance intermediaries. This is a consequence of the bill that we saw earlier. Moving on to the points in the bill. So as I told you before, Lok Sabha passed the Sabko Bima Sabko Raksha amendment of insurance laws bill, and this aims to reform India's insurance framework through changes making amendments in India Insurance Act 1938, LIC Act 1956 and IRDA Act 1999. So this is the topic of the news. Moving to the description of the news. So the amendment seeks to increase the FDI limit in Indian insurance companies from already prevailing 74% to 100% to attract foreign investments, increase technology percolation in this sector, and increase insurance penetration and social protection of Indian bourgeois class. So the requirement of net owned fund for foreign reinsurers will also be reduced from, that is a minimum amount required for starting insurance intermediaries or FDI provision route will be reduced, that is indirectly called in this sector as net owned fund for foreign reinsurers, will be reduced from 5,000 crores to 1,000 crores. And there are several provisions, as I told you before, the second news article which illustrates the power or new powers given to IRDA to increase the regulatory framework in this sector. So this bill also seeks to increase regulatory framework by IRDA by giving higher enforcement powers to make correct any wrongful gains made by the insurers or the intermediaries. So what are the power given under this new act? Under the revised provision, IRDA chairperson will be empowered to order searches, seizures and inspection if he feels that there is a reason beneath insurance and related entities that have failed to produce for example, if some insurance intermediaries or any other related entities are not producing documents, are withholding information related to any investigation conducted by them, or are unlikely to tamper with the evidence and records, then the IRDAI chairperson can order search, seizure and inspection with regards to these malfunctions created by the respected insurers. So, these powers can be invoked in case of involving suspected violation of law, illegal payment of commission to the beneficiaries or rebates, or attempt to falsify or destroy books, accounts, voucher, survey reports or other records. So, to simply put, if there is any malpractices found in the rebate of insurance given, or if there is any attempt to destroy or falsify any document regarding the insurance so that the amount does not reach the beneficiary, then they can come in with a more enforced force to create search, seizure or inspection to get hold of these insurance of the crime committed. Currently, SEBI has powers to search and seize documents and relevant papers if there is any suspected violation of rules and laws and regulations. Now, with this act coming into play, IRDAI is also set to get the same enhanced enforcement powers, including authority to disgorge the wrongful gains made by the insurers or the intermediaries. For example, if I will tell you an example, if a person A has to receive 2 crore as insurance, can be health, can be accident, can be of any sort as insurance, and if a company due to wrongful miscalculation of the premium or due to falsification of the records involved is providing only a very minimum amount of, for example, 5 lakhs, 50 lakhs, then this wrongful gains made by the insurers, that is 1.5 crores, can be disgorged and given back to the rebater. So, this is the provision regarding or underlying the power given to the IRDAI as a new enforcement agency. In addition, the IRDAI is now empowered to give binding directions to the insurers to protect policy holders and prevent mismanagement and ensure sound governance. So, the henceforth IRDAI's directions to the underlying body has a binding effect. The bill also gives LIC, we have talked about powers given to, since LIC Act is also being amended, we have already talked about 3 acts being amended: Insurance Act, LIC Act and IRDAI Act. Now, with the above provisions, we know IRDAI's, what are the amendments mostly given in IRDAI Act. Now, what powers have been given to LIC? LIC has been given increased operational freedom, empowering it to set up new zonal offices without requiring prior governmental approvals, enabling faster expansion and greater efficiency and better regional oversight. So, they can open new zonal offices without governmental regulations. So, this will reduce bureaucratic red tapeism, not in the dispensation of dispensation of the rebates to the beneficiaries, but in terms of coverage or expansion to rural areas. So, this might also be helpful in insurance penetration to rural areas. Moving amongst that, the opposition parties are criticizing that the facilitation of foreign companies in a sector where ordinary Indian citizens pour their life savings is again a criticism on this bill, but the government says this will promote more competition in this sector and the beneficiaries will get better rate of returns if there are more players in the industry. Again, we have seen these are some facts maybe UPSC might not ask, but let know some of the major provisions, major amendments that has been made through in this act through the evolution of timeline. Moving on to that, Insurance Act has 12 amendments since it was introduced in 1938. The most important amendment was foreign players were allowed FDI cap of 26% for the first time. Then the LIC Act had 8 amendments. In 1981, explicit powers were given to the central government over working conditions of LIC and its employees. So, among the multiple amendments made in Insurance Act and LIC Act, these are the major amendments made. So, moving on to that, this is again a prelims concept, what is insurance penetration and what is insurance density. Insurance penetration is the premium as a percentage of country's GDP. That is the economic depth of what insurance can percolate to the GDP of the country. While density is premiums per person, how much a per person is paying premium per year in terms of insurance. So, penetration depicts development of insurance sector, while density depicts development of insurance premium in terms of disposable income. So, this is the difference between penetration and density. So, now in this article states that insurance penetration is India has gone from 3.7% 5% to 8%, that is it has doubled between the time period from 2014-15 to now, while the global average is 7%, which is more than our Indian percentage. So, Indians are not in pro insurance till now. Insurance density in this article states that which is as we already discussed, the average insurance paid per person in a year was $55 in 2014-15, while it is $97, which states that this might be a probable UPSC question, that US insurance penetration in India has also doubled over a period of 10 years and over the period of last 10 years, while insurance density also has doubled over the period of last 10 years. So, in this article we saw the difference between insurance penetration versus insurance density. Both have doubled over the period of last 10 years. Something since the major article was the article's headline was that we have increased the FDI. We have increased the FDI to in automatic route to 100% in insurance sector. So, we will also see other sectors where 100% FDI is permitted under the automatic route. So, BFSI, this is where insurance is also covered, banking, financial services and insurance, mining and refining, manufacturing, civil aviation, telecom, pharmaceuticals, infrastructure, biotechnology. Just keep a check of it, because there might be a statement in upcoming prelims where they ask there are certain industries where 100% FDI is allowed. Also go check in government's website, Invest India. If you want to do an extra study, this states the reason and the reason for giving 100% FDI and how these sectors are backbone of India's economy. So, this is just a thing, so you remember or mug up, so that this can help in solving certain questions. But if you want to read in depth or know about the underlying factor, why all these were included in 100% FDI, you can go and read in Invest India government website. Moving on to the next slide. There is a PYQ regarding FDI in UPSC already, and I will come back to the answer later. You can see this for 10 seconds. I am moving on to the next slide. We will solve all PYQs at the end of the session. Moving on to the next topic. New GDP series to eliminate discrepancies that have been happening over years. The component of discrepancies which is causing the disparity in GDP calculation, and there is a full back series that is going to come by February 27. So, we have in this article, what do we need to understand? Since if you see the previous DNAs, you will know the calculation methods of GDP, what constitutes GDP, what is the effect of GDP, has been taught by sirs before in the previous DNAs. I am going to discuss in depth topic, because this came rarely an article regarding GDP comes in depth in the paper. So, we will discuss about what causes the discrepancy and what does it mean by GDP back series or back series of GDP. Moving on to the content of the slide. So as quoted before, India's Statistics Ministry MOSPI, as a part of their ongoing revision of the GDP data series, plans to do away with the contentious discrepancy component that has been puzzling the economists for years. So the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation also said that it is planning to publish GDP back series. So we have to know what is what constitutes GDP back series. GDP back series is the newly provided GDP, which will provide the historical GDP data recalculated when a new component like a base year or any new methodology is updated, so that it provides, for example, a new base year is provided, it comes into play while calculation in a year X. So they calculate GDP of that year X with reference to all the previous, that is a historical GDP data, so the GDP of previous years can change. This is called GDP back series data. This is a data continuous series dating back to back data. So this can be this is called as GDP back data. So when a new GDP back series, so to put it in simple words, when a new updated methodology like gross value added became a new component in GDP calculation a decade before. Then if a base year is changed from 2011-12 to a new base year, for example, new base year. In this case, to ensure continuity and comparability for users to analyze economic growth trends over periods, we make a GDP back series as I quoted now. So this is what GDP back series means. As I said before, we are trying to talk about two topics, GDP back series and discrepancy. So we will know what is the discrepancy in this that India is dealing with while calculating GDP. So the Statistics Ministry calculates GDP using two methods, production or income approach and expenditure approach. What is production approach? In a particular year, quantity of all the products produced in a particular domestic area, price of the products. So this is the production approach. Expenditure approaches you know already. Consumption expenditure, income expenditure, government expenditure plus this is investment expenditure. Consumption expenditure, investment expenditure, government expenditure plus exports minus imports. So this is expenditure approach. So these are the two methods by which Statistics Ministry is calculating GDP. Going back to it, but due to what is the problem, what is causing the discrepancy in this data is due to different sources of data used for the two approaches, because here components are different, here the components are different. This is creating different source of data used for the two approaches and variation in coverage. In certain arenas, in certain sector, we are not able to calculate expenditure made, and in certain arenas and certain sector, we are not able to wholly calculate the quantity made. So because of this, there is a coverage issue, evaluation issue, and lag in recording of data in certain sectors. So the final GDP arrived through these two approaches have a great variation. This is called the discrepancy component. So this is shown in the accounts book of India as discrepancy under the expenditure approach, along with the what do we have in expenditure? Government's final consumption expenditure, private's final consumption expenditure, GFCF, that is gross fixed capital formation, and change in stock variables, valuables, and net export. As I told before, these are components falling under private and government final expenditure. GFCF falls under investment expenditure as quoted before, and GFCF contains change in stock valuables, and we also talked about X minus Y there. So this constitute the net exports. So discrepancy generally happens because the expenditure side GDP is seen as being less accurate than the production side. Production side is easy to calculate. There are three sectors: agriculture, primary, tertiary, and secondary sector. So the accumulation of Q into P of all these data constitutes the production approach of approach of GDP. So this is an easier and a wholesome value. But when we constitute the expenditure category, there is a high possibility of being less accurate due to more number of variables involved. The alternative to remove is discrepancies by analyzing the data using system of national accounts. We will see what is system of national accounts. So if discrepancy is positive, it means that GDP calculated through production method by adding the value added of different sectors, as I told you before, Q into P of all three sectors is the GDP through product method in India. So if discrepancy is equal to GDP by product method, expenditure method. So if it is positive, then the product method is correct and the expenditure method is low. Matlab GDP through this method is greater. And if it's negative, then it's the other way. Expenditure method is more and the GDP through product method is less. So why is it a big thing? Is it a prelims thing or not? Might be because discrepancy figure was a negative of 2.4 lakh 6 crores or 2.9% of the GDP, which is somewhere near half the social sector spending we are spending on the budget. So 2.9% of GDP on the basis of error calculated is a big amount, and this can be reason for why something affiliated to GDP or discrepancy as such can be asked in prelims. So large discrepancy also can lead to significant reduction in GDP growth rates, and this might the erroneous projection of GDP also might make us look differentiated in the world of economics across countries. I told you already that we will discuss about the system of national accounts. So the comprehensive international framework for compiling national account. What is system of national account? It is an international framework for compiling national accounts, replacing earlier SNA 2008. So SNA 2005 is on the pile line. So it moves beyond GDP to capture sustainability, distribution and market activities. Actually, system of national accounts is a uniform format followed by different countries so that they arrive at the GDP end product using similar methods as suggested by UN. Okay. So what are the new features of the newly introduced SNA 2025? It takes into account depletion of minerals, coals, gas treated as production costs and renewables also as assets. So that what does it do? It takes into account nature while doing capital accounting also. Moving on to next, distributional accounts. Income, wealth, consumption and savings shown by households grouped to high inequality. So they will promote distributional accounts so that inequality between households and other sectors are significantly balanced. Third, unpaid work inclusion. Households and care work are also included in external account, recognizing gender parity or women contribution. Broader policy relevance like national growth along with fairness, ecological balance and inclusiveness also are included in this program. So this is a social justice way, sociologically, economically, ecologically balanced way of accounting. So SNA 2005 includes all the positive aspects that you can, 2025 includes all the positive aspects of national accounting that you can involve. So this is actually inducing green GDP. Go refer to green GDP for prelims. Moving on to the next topic. From tomorrow, non-BS6 cars from outside cannot enter Delhi. So since AQI in Delhi is becoming a very humongous problem which the government and other stakeholders are finding it very difficult to handle, Delhi government has announced this measure wherein environmental minister Manjinder Singh Sirsa said that vehicles from, moving on to the next slide, 1 minute, non-BS6 private vehicles registered outside Delhi will not be allowed to enter NCR, and vehicles that do not have a PUCC certificate, that is valid pollution under control certificate, will not be sold fuels at fuel pumps in the capital. So there is restriction on selling of fuel and there is restriction of allowance of non-BS6 vehicles into the capital. This is what the government of Delhi or the environmental minister of Delhi said. This order was targeted specifically at privately owned vehicles, since the ban on entry of non-BS6 commercial vehicles such as trucks and buses are already in place. So, this new order is for privately owned vehicles and not for commercial vehicles, because that restriction is already in play. So, this restriction falls under stage 4 of graded response action plan. So, we will discuss about graded response action plan in the upcoming file, but this falls under stage 4 and have been in effect in NCR from Sunday. So, this includes stage 4 this is a cause, this is an action taken for stage 4, but stage 4 also includes some plans that are discontinuation of physical classes for children in the school. So, recent leaves announced in Delhi for school kids are an effect of stage 4 of GRAP. This article also says an interesting fact wherein 37% or nearly 1/3 of the vehicle in Delhi NCR were heavily polluting, meaning they were only complained under BS 1, 2 and 3 and not even 4. So, 1/3 of vehicles entering or traversing Delhi are non-BS4 or non-BS6 vehicles. So, the recent restrictions announced are aimed at tackling this burden of vehicular pollution, and the government itself says in Delhi, one of the largest contributors to toxic air in the region is vehicular pollution. So, some of the facts known here are, we have to know what is GRAP, stage 4 GRAP, we will see 1/3 of vehicles in Delhi are non-BS4 or non-BS6, and the government itself said not stubble burning, not other factors, but construction, that the minister has said in other articles also, in previous news articles. Construction and vehicular pollution still contribute to the major polluting factors in Delhi. Moving on to the next slide, we will see about graded response action plan. It is a preemptive and an emergency framework designed to control and reduce air pollution in Delhi NCR region. It was formulated under the Supreme Court in the case of MC Mehta versus Union of India. So, it was officially notified and came into effect in 2017, and it is implemented by Commission for Air Quality Management (EKUVERIN) in coordination with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and state authorities. So, the plan categorizes pollution response measures into 4 stages depending upon the AQI levels. Stage 1. If the AQI is between 201 and 300, then they will take basic measures like road dust management and enforcing vehicular PUC validation. If the AQI is 300 to 400, that is very poor, then they take stricter actions such as limiting diesel generator use and controlling operations in hyper pollution hotspots. Then stage 3, the AQI is 400 to 450. They impose restrictions on specific vehicles that we have seen as similar to as we have seen before, construction activities, and allow for remote schooling measures. Online schooling methods. Stage 4, if the AQI is more than 450 as it is in most of the areas in Delhi now, they enforce bans on entry of heavy vehicles, closure of schools and shutdown of non-essential industries. So, as we have discussed before, we are entering the stage 4 implementational measures of GRAP, and I will show you a slide. You can download the PDF if you want for a picture later. We are not going to see that in detail. It contains all the mechanism that if you are curious about to know what is happening in Delhi and how they are operating, since the popular opinion is measures taken are not proportional to the increasing pollution in the city. You can refer to what are the measures graded response action plan, but meaning the step-by-step response taken by the government with increasing AQI. There are, as we discussed before, these are miniature level measures taken by the government when it's stage 4. But when it is increasing, government actually takes several measures to control all the micro providers of pollution. So, this word is also something, if you want, you can use in your minds. So, GRAP primarily stops or tries to curtail micro providers of pollution. So, kindly while downloading the PDF, kindly refer to the points here. Moving on to the next slide, we should coming back to the prelim side of it. we should also know the Commission for Air Quality Management ka details. So it is a statutory body set up under CAQM in NCR and adjoining areas Act, and it aims to coordinate and implement measures for controlling air pollution in NCR and adjoining areas, meaning Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh, so all the neighboring states of Delhi. So one of the important facts is that the commission is, I would have put wrong for this statement if I didn't knew it. So to know it, commission is directly accountable to the parliament and serves as an apex body for air quality management. So you have to know that it's a statutory body which implements air control measures in Delhi and adjoining neighborhood states, and it is directly accountable to the Parliament of India. Moving on to the next bill. I told you we will discuss about GDP. We already discussed about first bill, which is insurance reforms, and I told you we discussed about all the pollution related measures taken by the government. Now moving on to the second bill, as I told you, the second bill is higher education bill, higher education institutions bill. So some of the officials from Ministry of Education said it's a conscious decision to separate funding from regulators. Some officials commented on higher education bill. So we are having a umbrella body subsuming AICTE, UGC and NCT. We are having an umbrella body which will take over the actions of these three bodies, and funding the particular article states the funding provision given to the UGC will be cut off in elementary steps. So as I said before, it's a conscious decision and it is in line with NEP to minimize conflict of interest between different bodies governing the same stream of education. So currently grant dispersal function is there to UGC, and this is being UGC provides certain funds to particular universities and colleges, and because they get funding from Ministry of Education. Now Ministry of Education is cutting this particular function of grant dispersal function of UGC, and so they will not be able to have a funding arm which we are providing certain funds to universities and college. So this is the article. This is headline concerning the provisions in the article. Now the new bill introduced is, as I told you, it's the higher education bill or the Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan Bill 2025. So the bill seeks to establish a regulatory body for higher education. So as I told you before, it will replace the following bodies: UGC, University Grants Commission, All India Council for Technical Education AICTE, and National Council for Teacher Training NCTE. So this bill repeats the three acts, which there are three acts to these three bodies, and all these three acts will be repealed by the upcoming bill. But the bill, one of the feature to remember is it will stream with only arts or other related activities. It exempts legal and medical courses from its education, from its purview. We know that so these two are outside the purview of UGC. So it is, if they ask in prelims also, it's easy to guess this, but remember, legal and medical education are out of it. Only vocational and arts education are included in this. So this will continue to be regulated under separate acts as established before. Then Medical Council India Act and other respective acts. The bill establishes Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan Commission as the apex regulatory body for higher education. This is the umbrella body. This is the body governing the umbrella governance that is going to come into play. The commission will have the following three councils: a regulatory council, which will function as common regulator for higher education; then an accreditation council, which will provide accreditation to the colleges based on their capability and standards; then a standard council to determine academic standards for functioning of education in the colleges. So this is for determining standards of college, this is for determining standards of education, and this will see to the overall functioning of all the three body functions of the body, erstwhile three bodies. Currently UGC also allocates grant to universities and colleges. Under the bill, the commission on the council will not have any powers regarding funding to HEIs. So they will not have funding purpose. That was the plank of the article. So each council will be headed by a president and will have 14 members, and the president and the full time members will be appointed by President of India. So the commission, as noted before, the point, the name of it is Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan Commission. They will have a chairperson and 12 members. These what I told before was council members ka description. This is composition. This is the composition of the Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan ka composition, which consists of chairperson and 12 members. The chairperson will be a person of eminence and reputation to be appointed in honorary capacity. Members of the commission will be president of 3 councils, higher education secretary of the central government, and 5 eminent experts and 2 eminent academicians. Not too important. As I told you before, the chairperson and member will be appointed by President of India on the recommendation of central government. Now the dispute regarding this bill is, any appeal regarding the decision of the commission and the council will lie before the central government. So you don't appoint a body and appeal again lies with you, is a dispute resolution paradox. So this you can sit and think upon how a appointing body will also be the appeal solving body. Kindly see this. We have taken this PYQ because NCTE was asked in UPSC prelims before. This was because NCTE bill came into play, and in that year itself UPSC asked a question regarding that. So since now whole of these 3 bodies are being subsumed by a proper bill, there is high possibility of any of the data or any topic that we discussed before can be asked in the upcoming prelims, because UPSC already had an affinity with NCTE regarding its PYQs. So kindly see this PYQ, we will discuss it at the end of the session. Moving on to the next slide. India-Maldives joint military exercises EKUVERIN concludes. So what does this article say? The bilateral military exercise EKUVERIN between Indian Army and Maldives National Defence Forces concluded at Thiruvananthapuram. So what do we need to know about it? EKUVERIN means Duhei, Maldivian language. EKUVERIN means friends, and it reflects strong defence ties between India and Maldives. In Indian perspective, it emphasizes 3 things. It emphasizes India's commitment to security and stability in Indian Ocean region. I hope you know, you should know this. Security and growth for all in the region. So security and stability in the Indian Ocean region, and it aligns with India's neighborhood first policy and strengthens regional partnership. So this is the objective of EKUVERIN. But why are we discussing this article into play? Because defense questions in UPSC have increased in the recent years, and in last year also, in 2024, they asked the question regarding bilateral defense exercises. So this becomes important, and now we will discuss about several bilateral exercises that India is a partner to. So Surya Kiran is a exercise name between India and Nepal. Exercise Cyclone is India and Egypt. Dharma Guardian is India and Japan. Khanjar 11 is India, Kyrgyzstan. Exercise Dustlik is India, Uzbekistan joint military. Exercise Desert Flag 10 is India, Bahrain, France, Germany, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Republic of Korea, Turkey, UAE, UK, USA. Too big to remember. But I think Desert Flag contributes to Middle Eastern involvement of Middle Eastern countries, which can be remembered in this place. And Nomadic Elephant is India, Mongolia. Exercise Shakti 8 is India and France. Conquest Exercise 2025 is USA and Mongolia. Passage Exercise PASEX is India and UK. So these are things to nothing to explain here, because these are things to be remembered. You have to remember using the PDF attached with this slide. Simbex is RSN in Indian Navy. I will refer to India exercise Divya Drishti. Exercise Slynex is India, Sri Lanka. Exercise Bright Star is USA, Egypt, India, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Greece, Cyprus and Italy. Exercise Maitri is Thailand. Yuddhabhyas with USA. Konkan with UK, and Ajaya Varia 2025 with UK. Trishul is with is not a bilateral exercise but a tri-service exercise, wherein India's Army, Navy and Air Force have a, so easy to remember as a Trishul, no? India's Army, Navy and Air Force combined exercises, and Mitra Shakti is India, Sri Lanka. Now you can ask, sir, why, what is the importance of remembering all this? There was a question last year. Kindly read the question, I'll give you a minute to read. You would have went across this question last year itself. So, which of the following statements about exercise Mitra Shakti 2023 are correct? This was a joint military exercise between India and Bangladesh. It commenced in Pune, and joint response during counter-terrorism operations was a goal of this operation. Indian Air Force was a part of this exercise. Everybody considered this question to be very tough because we don't know who are constituents of it, what is the objective of a very particular military exercise, where did it happen. This is never an UPSC style of questioning, but UPSC wanted you to know what we read in last slide. Mitra Shakti is India and Sri Lanka. What have they asked? Mitra Shakti is India and Bangladesh. So if you mark this first statement wrong, then automatically answer becomes D. So this is the importance of remembering certain things which might be probably asked by UPSC. Going back to the previous PYQs, consider the following statements. As per RTE Act, to be eligible for appointment as a teacher in a state, a person would be required to possess the minimum qualification laid down by the concerned State Council of Teacher Education. As per the RTE Act, for teaching primary classes, a candidate is required to pass TET, that is Teacher Eligibility Test, conducted in accordance with National Council of Teacher Education Guidelines. In India, more than 90% of the teacher education institutions are directly under state government. Now, the question, as I told you before, the question became important because NCTE bill was in limelight in that year. So UPSC asked the NCTE based question. This is the context of the question. Answer to the question is answer to this question is in India, more than, let's apply logic and try to eliminate certain things. In India, more than 90% of the teacher education institutions are directly under state government, which is not possible because most of the education institutions in India are under private. So 3 goes wrong. So you are left with A and B. Now one has to be correct. Solving one will solve the problem because 2 is automatically correct. So taking inference from 2, we will try to solve 1. Under RTE Act, you have to write TET test conducted by NCTE, which is required to, you have to, for teaching primary class itself, you have to pass TET exam conducted by NCTE. So if an exam conducted by NCTE is required for applying teaching primary class anywhere, why will you have minimum qualification laid down by the concerned State Council of Teacher Education? It should be national. Because if an exam is conducted by a national body, the qualification for jobs across India in that particular field will be governed by the same body. In that logic, 1 is also wrong. So going with this, 2 is the answer. So we solved it without knowing anything about the NCTE bill, but kindly rewind back to and see the provisions regarding UGC, NCTE and AACTE, Viksit Bharat, Sanset Adhishtan bill, so that that might be a probable question in the upcoming prelims. Also moving on to the previous PYQ. This is a very simple PYQ with reference to FDI in India. Which one of the following is considered a major characteristic? It is the investment through capital instruments essentially in a listed company, not necessarily, it can be in other companies too. It is a largely non-debt creating capital flow, true. It is an investment which involves debt servicing, not necessarily, you don't do continuous debt servicing in this. It is an investment made by foreign institutional investors in government securities. There are FII and there is FTI. So that there are different parameters that go and read what percentage constitutes FII and what percentage constitutes FDI. So the answer here is B. So thank you for listening to the session. Kindly refer to the GRAP stages photo in the PDF given below, and kindly practice to the context of the question and what is a possible question that can be asked from the articles that I have taught. Thank you.